There is a number attached to your age right now. Some website or YouTuber has decided that by the time you hit 25, you should have saved X. By the time you hit 30, you should have saved Y. By the time you hit 40, you should basically completely have your act together. And if you don't, you're behind. Maybe you've seen the charts. Maybe you've typed in your age into one of these calculators at 11 PM at night, trying to work out where you stand. But here's the problem. Every single one of these benchmarks is built on someone else's life. Someone else's salary, someone else's inheritance, someone else's choices, and ultimately, someone else's goals. The process of measuring yourself against them produces exactly one of two outcomes. Either you feel anxious because you're behind, or you feel smug because you're ahead. But neither of those feelings leads to a single better life decision. So I'm going to show you what the right question actually is, and how you can start building towards your goals in the right way. The numbers may be a bit uncomfortable or surprising, but in a good way. So whether you're 22 and just starting out, or 34 and wondering if you've left it too late, or maybe even 45 and you're finally starting to take things seriously, this video is for you. Because the underlying question is the same at every age. Am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? And am I on the right track? Because I've been in that exact same spot, and it took me longer than I'd like to admit to realise that comparing myself to others was not helpful, and it was actively making me think about money in the wrong way. When websites and finance YouTubers publish guides on how much you should have saved by 25 or 30 or 40, those figures are pulled from averages. And averages are a complete mess. They include a 24-year-old who received £50,000 in inheritance, a 31-year-old who might have graduated debt-free because their parents covered it, the 38-year-old who's been on a six-figure salary since their late 20s. But they also include people dragging down the average. The ones who carry debt that they just can't shift. Those who have had a few rough years and are just starting to get back on their feet. They're all real people, but they're skewing the numbers, and then you're measuring yourself against them. The result that most people end up in is one of two useless emotional states: anxious or complacent. If you're 27, maybe you start to feel behind. You freeze. Starting to save feels completely pointless. You start to tell yourself that you'll sort it out when you earn more, when life settles down a bit, and the saving paralysis ultimately kicks in as you kick the can down the road. If you're 33 and ahead of an average, maybe you start to relax. You start thinking you're doing fine, and you stop pushing yourself. But neither of those decisions are healthy and lead to better decisions down the line. The sad reality is that the question everyone is Googling isn't about money. It's a question about whether or not everything's going to be okay. But the answer has nothing to do with what the person next to you has done or saved. The real question is, am I on track for the life that I want to build? That is a completely different question and has a very real answer, but only if you're willing to be honest about what you're actually saving for. So as you might expect, before we work out whether or not you're on track, we first need to work out what you're tracking towards. Not in a vague sort of financial freedom way, but in a real specific way. So looking at me as an example, I never wanted to be conventionally rich. I simply wanted a life where money wasn't a talking point, and it wasn't governing the decisions that I make on a daily basis. Holidays without any financial guilt, a buffer to start a family without any panic, a home, enough flexibility to work on things I actually cared about rather than grinding relentlessly in a job just to pay the bills. And so thinking about these things critically led me to finding a number which I thought would achieve all of these things. So now think about what you actually want and what you need financially to make it happen. Your version will obviously be different to mine, but the exercise is the same at any age. Because the point of this video isn't to give you someone else's benchmark to measure yourself against, it's to help you work out for yourself how much you can save and be in a place where you can set realistic goals and expectations based on your living standards. Now, the only way to start achieving your savings goals is to do one thing: start saving. But here's the thing that people usually gloss over. The early stages are actually the most difficult. It feels like you're working hard, but literally nothing is happening. So I've made this compound interest calculator that you guys can have a play with, which kind of demonstrates this a bit more clearly. So if you put money aside every single month, keep your costs down, and you do all the right things, for a very long time, it feels like the numbers barely move, and all that's happening is you're just adding money into a pot. Now, I went through this and it almost killed my momentum more than once. I'd check the accounts and I'd just think, what's the point? But what I didn't fully appreciate at the time is that I was experiencing something completely normal. Not a personal failing, just the maths of how compounding works and compound interest. At the beginning, the pot grows mainly from your monthly deposits, but the longer you save, that will eventually start to flip. And there will always be a point in time where you end up making more money just from the interest earned on that large pot of savings. And your monthly contributions genuinely start to become insignificant as the compounding effect takes over. So imagine two people on the same salary. One has saved £200 a month consistently, and the other saves nothing. After 5 years, the person who has saved nothing obviously has nothing. The person who's been putting away £200 a month though, has roughly £13,500 after those 5 years. So that's before you even start to think about investing properly. They've got the same income, the same period of time, but they're now in completely different financial positions. So the earlier these quiet, unglamorous years begin, the sooner you'll start reaching the part where things actually start to accelerate. Starting at 22 instead of 32 is not a minor disadvantage. That decade of compounding is worth more than almost any salary increase you could chase. Even if you're starting later, the same logic applies. It's cliche, but everyone always says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Now here's the part where it starts to get far more interesting when we look at this over a longer time horizon. Because that same £200 a month produces very different outcomes depending on where you put the money. So let's look at what happens if we change the rate of return that this person is getting on their money. The same person, the same £200 a month saved. Option 1 is a high interest savings account with a 5% annual interest rate. After 30 years, you'd end up with around £166,000. Your total contributions over that time are £72,000. So the interest has done its job fantastically and you've over doubled your original investment. But let's face it, that's around 30 years of your life where you've consistently saved. This isn't really a life-changing amount of money. So option 2 is investing in the stock market into an index fund. So I'm using the S&P 500, which historically has around a 10% annual rate of return. That's obviously not guaranteed, and when investing in stocks, the price can move up and down, but it is a good benchmark to start thinking about. So that same monthly saving over that 30 years would have grown to approximately £452,000. Seriously, the only variable that's changed is adding an extra 5% into the annual rate of return. But that's the difference between £166,000 and £452,000. That's near enough tripling your money without any extra discipline or effort. It's purely just making your money work harder for you. But then we have option 3, which is Bitcoin. Now that's going to trigger some people, but please bear with me. If you think Bitcoin's a scam or a Ponzi scheme, I've been there too. I used to think that, but then I spent a ton of time learning about it, and I now think very differently. But if you want to learn more about it and the technology behind it, I'll leave a link on screen now to one of my videos breaking it down. But the thing I want to look at is that Bitcoin's been the best performing asset over the last decade, and it has a very interesting growth rate, and its historical returns track what's called a power law or power trend. And so it accounts for it having very violent growth in the early years, which eventually will slow as the asset matures. So if we put that same £200 a month over that 30 years into Bitcoin, assuming it follows this power law trend, you'd end up with approximately £3 million. And I promise you, that's not using the last 10 years where it's averaged around 60% in average returns. It's a much more cautious long-term projection. But I'll put this candidly, Bitcoin is volatile. It does have 80% swings in both directions, and it's normal. If you're uncomfortable by the idea of your money going down in value, and it would cause you to panic sell, it's not going to be the right approach for you. But if you're thinking about long-term savings, you're thinking in decades, and you're not going to need the money instantly, it's responsible to consider high-growth assets as part of your portfolio. And so when I play around with these sort of compound interest calculators, the question I ask myself is what's going to be life-changing? The savings account protects what you put in, the index fund grows more meaningfully, and the third option, if the trajectory continues, even at a fraction of its historical pace, it makes the other two look irrelevant. Because of this, I run a version of all three, but more weighted towards the volatile end. I've thought long and hard about what I want to actually hold and what I'm waiting for. I feel very comfortable holding Bitcoin because I understand the technology, but at the same time, I want meaningful, life-changing returns. Your strategy should also match that. You should be putting your money in places that you feel comfortable with, but at the same time are going to help you meet your financial goals. If you're watching this and you're 22 and thinking, great, I've got loads of time, you're right. But take that advantage. It disappears way faster than you think. Even if you can manage to save while you're at university, that is a great advantage. Start with whatever you can, even if it's just £50 a month, and get in the habit and scale. Maybe you're 35 and you're thinking, I'm already behind. But you're not. You still have plenty of working years ahead of you where you can save and make a meaningful difference to your life. But only if you start now, rather than waiting for the perfect moment, because it doesn't exist. Now, if you're in your late 40s and you're just starting to take this stuff seriously, the compounding window is obviously shorter, but that just makes the rate of return that you can get on your money far more important. And this is where you need to start having the conversation between whether or not you should keep your money in savings or in something that can grow faster. Obviously, you have to find something that works for you and you feel comfortable with and do all of your due diligence, but you can't deny the maths behind it. But I can't stress this enough, whatever age you are, don't panic and make decisions that you'll regret. This might sound contradictory, but if you're not ready to invest, don't. And definitely don't make a rash decision with all of your savings at once. Take it slow, see how it feels, learn as much as you can about your options before committing. Now, one of the platforms that I use and I think is a good place to start is eToro. They offer cash ISAs at competitive rates, stocks and shares ISAs for tax-free investing, and you can even buy Bitcoin through them as well. So you have all three options in one place without having to commit to a single approach before you're ready. Now also, when you sign up using my link and deposit into an investment account, you can qualify for up to £500 worth of free shares. So check out my link down below in the description. But before you get there, do have a play with my free compound interest calculator. See how saving a bit more might affect the results, and play around with the different variables to see for yourself what really matters. Now just remember, you're not going to find the answers to your life plan somewhere online. You have to start working it out for yourself by taking steps like this. Work out what you want and work out how you're going to get there. The early years are always going to feel harder than what comes next, but that's exactly how it's meant to feel. So don't be discouraged. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what you guys think of my compound interest calculator. I'm now also writing a bi-monthly newsletter diving into more detail about topics like this, which will give you an early peek into what I've got planned for my YouTube content and access to all of my investment tools like this compound interest calculator. So I'll leave a link to that down below in the description as well. But with all of that being said, take it easy and enjoy the rest of your day.